At the far end of the shed, Billy saw pink arches and azure draperies hanging between them, and an enormous clock, and 2 golden thrones, and a bucket and a mop. It was in this setting that the evening's entertainment would take place. A musical version of Cinderella, the most popular story ever told. Billy Pilgrim was on fire, having stood too close to the glowing stove. The hem of his little coat was burning. It was a quiet, patient sort of fire, like the burning of punk. Billy wondered if there was a telephone somewhere. He wanted to call his mother, to tell her that he was alive and well. There was silence now, as the Englishmen looked in astonishment at the frowsy creatures they had so lustfully waltzed inside. One of the Englishmen saw that Billy was on fire. "You're on fire, lad," he said, and he got Billy away from the stove and beat out the sparks with his hands. When Billy made no comment on this, the Englishman asked him, "Can you talk? Can you hear?" Billy nodded. The Englishman touched him exploratorily here and there, filled with pity. "My God, what have they done to you, lad? This isn't a man, it's a broken kite." "Are you really an American?" said the Englishman. "Yes," said Billy. "And your rank?" "Private." "What became of your boots, lad?" "I don't remember." "Is that coat a joke?" "Sir, where did you get such a thing?" Billy had to think hard about that. "They gave it to me," he said at last. "Jerry gave it to you?" Wait, should I try my English accent? "Jerry gave it to you." "Jerry did, old chap. Jerry? Jerry gave it to you?" Okay, no more English accent. "Who? The Germans gave it to you?" "Yes." Billy didn't like the questions. They were fatiguing. "Oh, yank, yank, yank," said the Englishman. "That coat was an insult." "Sir, it was a deliberate attempt to humiliate you. You mustn't let Jerry do things like that." Billy Pilgrim swooned. Billy came to on a chair facing the stage. He had somehow eaten and was now watching Cinderella. Some part of him had evidently been enjoying the performance for quite a while. Billy was laughing hard. The women in the play were really men, of course. The clock had just struck midnight, and Cinderella was lamenting. "Goodness me, the clock has struck. Alack-a-day, and fuck my luck." Billy found the couplet so comical that he not only laughed, he shrieked He went on shrieking until he was carried out of the shed and into another, where the hospital was. It was a 6-bed hospital. There weren't any other patients in there. Billy was put to bed and tied down and given a shot of morphine. Another American volunteered to look over him. This volunteer was Edgar Derby, the high school teacher who would be shot to death in Dresden. So it goes. Derby sat on a 3-legged stool. He was given a book to read. The book was The Red Badge of Courage by Stephen Crane. Derby had read it before. Now he read it again, while Billy Pilgrim entered a morphine paradise. Under morphine, Billy had dreams of giraffes in a garden. The giraffes were following gravel paths, were pausing to munch sugar pears from treetops. Billy was a giraffe too. He ate a pear. It was a hard one. It fought back against his grinding teeth. It snapped in juicy protest. The giraffes accepted Billy as one of their own, as a harmless creature, as preposterously specialized as themselves. 2 approached him from opposite sides, leaned against him. They had long, muscular upper lips, which they could shape like the bells of bugles. They kissed him with these. They were female giraffes, cream and lemon yellow. They had horns like doorknobs. The knobs were covered with velvet. Why? Sorry, my eyeball itches. I can't help it. Ugh. Thanks. Night came to the garden of the giraffes, and Billy Pilgrim slept without dreaming for a while. And then he traveled in time. He woke up with his head under a blanket in a ward for nonviolent mental patients in a veterans hospital near Lake Placid, New York. It was springtime in 1948, 3 years after the end of the war. Billy uncovered his head. The windows of the ward were open. Birds were twittering outside. "Poo-tee wheat?" one asked him. The sun was high. There were 29 other patients assigned to the ward, but they were all outdoors now, enjoying the day. They were free to the birds were Xing outside. And they said, "Poo-tee post?" And actually, I mean, if you consider the T as part of the wheat, it would be poopy post, poopy oast. Okay, it would be poopy oast. The birds were Xing outside. The sun was high. There were 29 other patients assigned to the ward, but they were all outdoors now, enjoying the day. They were free to come and go as they pleased, to go home even if they liked. And so was Billy Pilgrim. They had come here voluntarily, alarmed by the outside world. Thank you, Joel, for 7 months. Billy had committed himself in the middle of his final year at the Ilium School of Optometry. Nobody else suspected that he was going crazy. Everybody else thought that he looked fine and was acting fine. Now he was in a hospital. The hospital. The doctors agreed. He was going crazy. They didn't think it had anything to do with the war. They were sure that Billy was going to pieces because his father had thrown him into the deep end of the YMCA swimming pool when he was a little boy, and had then taken him to the rim of the Grand Canyon. The man assigned to the bed next to Billy's was a former infantry captain named Elliot Rosewater. Rosewater was sick and tired of being drunk all the time. The man assigned to the bed next to Billy's was a former infantry captain named Elliot Rosewater. Rosewater was sick and tired of being drunk all the time. It was Rosewater who introduced Billy to science fiction, and in particular the writings of Kilgore Trout. Rosewater had a tremendous collection of science fiction paperbacks under his bed. He had brought them to the hospital in a steamer trunk. Those beloved, frumpish books gave off a smell that permeated the ward, like flannel pajamas that hadn't been changed for a month, or like Irish stew. Kilgore Trout became Billy's favorite living author, and science fiction became the only sort of tales that he could read. Rosewater was twice as smart as Billy, but he and Billy were dealing with similar crises in a similar way. Rosewater was twice as smart as Billy, but he and Billy were dealing with similar crises in similar ways. They had both found life meaningless, partly because of what they had seen in the war. Rosewater, for instance, had shot a 14-year-old fireman, mistaking him for a German soldier. So it goes. And Billy had seen the greatest massacre in European history, which was the firebombing of Dresden. So it goes. They were trying to reinvent themselves and their universe. Science fiction was a big help. Rosewater said an interesting thing to Billy one time about a book that wasn't science fiction. He said that everything there was to know about life was in the brothers Karamazov. Was in the brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Okay. Ow, I hit my elbow. Fraggle Pop, thank you for 16 months. Joel K69, thank you for gifting a sub to Kurt Vonnegut. Rosewater said an interesting thing to Billy one time about a book that wasn't science fiction. He said that everything there was to know about life was in the brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. But that isn't enough anymore, said Rosewater. Another time, Billy heard Rosewater say to a psychiatrist, I think you guys are going to have to come up with a lot of wonderful new lies, or people just aren't going to want to go on living. There was a still life on Billy's bedside table. 2 pills, an ashtray with 3 lipstick-stained cigarettes in it, 1 cigarette still burning, and a glass of water. The water was dead. So it goes. Air was trying to get out of that dead water. Bubbles were clinging to the walls of the glass, too weak to climb out. The cigarettes belonged to Billy's chain-smoking mother. She had sought the ladies' room, which was off the ward, for WACs and WAVEs and SPARs and WAFs who had gone bananas. She would be back any moment now. I don't know if I'm supposed to say these out loud. The cigarettes belonged to Billy's chain-smoking mother. She had sought the ladies' room, which was off the ward, for walks and waves and spars and wafts who had gone bananas. She would be back any moment now. Billy covered his head with his blanket again. He always covered his head when his mother came to see him in the mental ward. Always got much sicker when she went away. Oh, always got much sicker until she went away. It wasn't that she was ugly, or had bad breath, or a bad personality. She was a perfectly nice, standard issue, brown-haired white woman with a high school education. She upset Billy simply by being his mother. She made him feel embarrassed and ungrateful and weak. Because she had gone through so much trouble to give him life and to keep that life going. And Billy didn't really like life at all. Okay, I think I'm done for tonight, by the way. BT dubs. This chapter's so fucking long. Holy shit. I've read 10 pages, and there's 20 left. I think that's all I'm gonna do for tonight. This is the whole chapter, by the way. Like, look at that fucking monster. That's all of chapter 5. 6 to 5. That's beefy. That's too much. I'll read the rest next Monday. Thank you for listening. I think that's a good place to stop too. Like, I'm not upset. Billy, you know, his mom, that other guy. But I really wish I could keep going, because this book is so good. If you never hear me finish this book, you should read it yourself. The end. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, chat, and thank you, viewer. And I'm really enjoying it, and I think we're like halfway through the book now. Anonymous, backup band name, the Marmalade Barons. The Marmalade Barons. Thank you so much, Anonymous. And God bless you all. So it goes. And then it ended. I can't wait till we finish this book, by the way, just so we can all go, wow. And good night.